Hi everyone, and welcome back to Arguably Speaking. And we're back with another episode. We're so happy you're here.
Yay!
And we're just gonna do a little quick debrief of the week. Our topic for today is all about dates. The good, the bad, the ugly, the recent. And it's gonna be a lot of fun. So we have a little bit of catching up to do. Yes. I mean, our catching up is probably a little bit intertwined with the dates. I keep looking at Sarah because she's the one that's been having a lot of dates recently.
It's true. It's true.
But do you want to start off, or do you want to catch up with other things that are not date related first?
I think we can do a little bit of catch up with other things. Because we have been doing some fun things recently.
We have been doing some fun recent. Wow.
Some fun recent things.
Fun recent things. Things fun recently? What?
All you have to know, we've been having some fun. And I think it's because I started taking vitamin D.
Yeah. So we had this conversation in the house, and Sarah approached me and was like, hey, Bella and I have this great idea.
Mm-hmm. That we're gonna, go to Costco and get a huge thing of vitamin D, and then we'll all split it. And Kiera apparently believes that she doesn't need vitamin D, which is, so fair. Good for her. Love it.
I don't know.
But Bella and I did end up getting vitamin D, and ever since I started taking the vitamin D, all of these wonderful things have been happening to me. And, I'm just genuinely really, pleased with how the world and life has been. And, it's probably placebo, and it's probably coincidence, but at the same time, I'm like, dang.
Could be.
It's probably the vitamin D.
So, when I came to Seattle last year, everyone kept telling me, yes, you should definitely take vitamin D supplements. It'll make you feel better, blah, blah, blah. And over the winter, I felt like, oh, yeah, it is dark. Maybe I'll get some vitamin D. I'm at the store. My roommate's getting some. I'll get some too, and we can do it together. How great. And then I'm really bad at remembering to take pills every single day or anything like that. Super lucky that I don't have medication that requires it. But then I was like, fine, I'll only take the vitamin D supplements when it's not sunny outside. And then I even decreased it further, and I was like, I'm only gonna do it when I don't go outside, which isn't that often.
That's so funny.
So they just sat there, and I think I had maybe half of the container and didn't ever have it again, and didn't notice a huge difference, but that was probably because of operator error.
Hey,
Who's to say?
Who's to say?
Who's to say?
Some people take it, some people don't. That's fine. Hey, it's all good. I'm not gonna stop anytime soon because then I feel like, it's like they're like lucky socks now.
Yeah.
I'm like liquid sunshine, let's go. Yeah, so I'm pleased. I guess in terms of unrelated to date catching up, we went to the Goodwill bins.
Yeah, we did.
Super
Seattle
fun.
has a good fun one.
Oh my gosh. I had never been to a bin experience like this before.
Yes.
The place was huge. They're not incredibly deep. I was wondering about that.
If you don't know what the Goodwill bins are, essentially it's like a offshoot of Goodwill where things that don't sell or overstock of donations go to have their last chance at being sold before they kind of get hauled off to the dump.
Yeah.
So they do everything by pound, and they just dump huge vats of clothing into these bins and appliances and anything that you would see at a Goodwill, which is pretty much everything, is also at the Goodwill outlet. And then you can get a super killer deal on stuff. We keep glancing up to the right because the sign is very precariously hung today.
I painted my nails. We were going to do a spa night tonight. And I painted my nails because I was like, the podcast is the perfect opportunity for my nails to dry because I won't be allowed to do anything besides sit here and have a wonderful conversation with Kiera. Except for I forgot the all-important podcast setup with the sign and the lights and the camera, etc., etc. So I probably did not do as good of a quality job just because, I was hindered a little bit by my fingies.
Which is totally fair. I also gave her that job, and I had forgotten she had painted her nails. So when I came in, I was like, what? And then I was like, oh my god, please don't get nail polish on my walls, please.
I was being very careful and looking a little silly. Trying to be very careful. But yes, so if the sign falls on our heads, we will edit it out and you won't even know. But just know if you're watching the YouTube video, that is why we keep on looking up and hearing little tiny tipping noises. So,
Yeah.
a little scary. But anyways, the bins.
The bins.
We spent about 2 hours there and had a great time, just kind of chatting and looking and rifling through and things like that. And I think we both made it out without spending more than $20.
Yeah.
And definitely got some good stuff.
Man, our vacuum broke. And we got a handheld vacuum. And it's a strong handheld vacuum.
Love it.
I did vacuum our entire house with the handheld vacuum, but it was worth it.
Amazing. Amazing. Honestly, it looks a lot better everywhere now. So that's super nice. But yeah, I also got some fabric, like pre-cut out quilt squares and stuff, which are really cute. So that was super fun too. We also did some other thrifting this week.
Yes, because we went to Mercer Island.
Very fun.
With our roommate Bella, and I had been there before. My mom actually used to live there way many years ago when she lived in Washington. And when she comes out to visit, we had tried to go there and tried to find her house. It had been demolished because it had been so many years. But it was also summer when I had went last, so it had been a long time since I'd gone and spent any amount of time there. I feel like I've driven through before.
Okay.
And so we got to explore, and as mentioned, we went to the thrift stores.
Very nice. Yeah, I got a really cool light up frisbee. I've had light up frisbees in the past, but this one is kind of like those LED strips that like people have in their dorms. You know, the like ticker tape kind of things with the individual lights, and it's super cool because it's motion activated, but then you can also set it so that it like stays on for longer. So like when you throw it, it lights up, but then it'll also stay on long enough for you to like find it in the grass before it goes off.
Yeah, which is
yeah,
very important, especially if you're playing at night.
It's
right?
true. It's true. Well, and it's like, you know, I have really good aim that it like no one would ever miss catching one of my throws. But like, say I'm throwing with a friend or like a roommate who also plays, like their throws might not be as good. So it'd be important to have that extra time to find the disc. But anyways, no, I'm just joshing. But it was a super exciting find for me because I found them on Amazon later and it was like $35 and I got it from this thrift store for like $8.
Yeah,
So-
it was a very reasonably priced thrift store, and it was fun. It felt like they all had like nice stuff. It almost felt. I feel like there's a difference between like a thrift store and a consignment store, and I feel like a consignment store is usually like curated things,
Right.
and that's what it felt like to me.
Yeah, it was a very nice layout to be able to kind of like wander and look through things. So that was fun.
And then we also saw some earth forms.
We did.
And we saw some really fun ducks, and we ran around in the rain.
Very fun, very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, the noises, we were like, how do we record this and use it as some sort of like sound bite somewhere?
And it just wasn't quite strong enough to do that.
Yeah, it was very fun. We're gonna try and do some more like friend activity things
That
in
are
the coming.
active, not just like hanging at the house.
Right. Because hanging at the house, super fun. Podcasting, also super fun. But you know, we're gonna explore a little bit more, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
In other small updates before we get to the dates, my crafty activity for last week was printmaking, and Bella helped me out, and supplied me with some materials, and then I made this fun carvy pattern, and it was actually really hard because there were so many curves, and I was like, why did I do this? Why didn't I just use straight lines? I can't believe I did this to myself. But it was really nice to do it, and it was kind of therapeutic in the end to just carve, and then you just use some acrylic paint, plopped it on the paper, you got a print.
Yeah.
And
It looks really cool. It does. Cool. Yeah, it's fun.
What other cool things have we done that aren't dates?
I think that's most of it. I did go on a unconventional date of sorts with our other friend Bella. And we went and got dumplings, and it was exciting because I drove. So my car's been out and about quite a lot since last pod, I will say. It sounded really bad earlier today when we were bringing in some furniture to our house and I was just moving it around in the garage. But I think part of that's just because it was in the garage, so it sounded like really loud, like the
Yeah.
various noises it makes.
Oh my gosh. And completely changing topics.
Okay.
But last time that we talked, we were about to see Mean Girls the musical.
Oh, so true.
And we ended up
gosh.
seeing it, and it was really fun. It was really cute. I think there was like a little bit left to be desired in terms of like wanting more music.
Yeah, I would agree.
For a musical, I was like, I want there to be songs like all the time, and I want them to sound a little more like the Broadway soundtrack.
Yeah.
But still very fun and really cool to see it like on the big screen, especially with Renee Rapp.
Yeah, we were a little nervous because we were in the third row. That way it was gonna be like too much. But I feel like, I don't know, I really liked where we were in terms of like, we were really appreciating the fact we were in a movie theater.
Yeah.
You know, like,
but it wasn't
was
like,
big.
oh, this is painful.
Right, yeah. But yeah, we really enjoyed how it was cast.
Yeah.
Except for one particular actor. I'm sorry to my friend who is a very big fan of this actor, but we didn't incredibly enjoy Aaron. Is that his name?
Yeah, his name is Aaron in the movie. I think in real life his name is Chris. Last name starts with a B.
Yeah.
Briney, something like that.
That's right.
Or at least that's how I've always pronounced it in my head. Something around that pronunciation. I think he's wonderful in The Summer I Turned Pretty. He is like such a good fit for that character.
Definitely.
And maybe that's altering how I see him in this movie. But in this movie, he just like wasn't, and he also didn't have any singing moments. They cut his song, so I felt like he was like less of a character.
Right.
And maybe that contributed too.
Like small difference in how we saw him in the movie because he didn't sing, you know?
Yeah.
Like that connection was a little less, maybe?
And I feel like all of the other characters, for the most part, like really embodied the same essence as the original Mean Girls movie.
Yeah.
Where I feel like Aaron wasn't quite the same feeling.
Yeah, I would agree with
And I don't know, there's probably a lot of factors.
Hey.
But
all in all, love the movie.
Would definitely watch it again. Wouldn't see it in theaters again, but if it was on, would not change channel.
Totally.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Fun stuff though. We particularly liked the Revenge Party song.
Oh my god.
It was stuck in our head for like 2 days.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very good to party. The party that ends. We don't know the words, but we really liked it. So that's most of our catch up beyond the all important date updates that happened.
All important date updates.
It's true. So I don't know how we want to go about talking about this. I don't know if Kiera wants to lead me in my recounting, or if we want to have some sort of like questions and I'll sprinkle in the dates that have happened between now and the last pod as like, you know, general overall, and then I'll be like, but recently this is a story.
Yes. So I actually have a list of prompts kind of for us to both share date stories, just so it's not feeling like a lot of you just talking and talking and talking and me asking you questions.
That sounds great.
Sometimes it's a lot. That you can sprinkle in the dates where you feel.
Okay.
And I can tell you the categories that we have.
Love.
One of them will be really easy, but we have best date.
Okay.
Worst date.
Okay.
Longest date.
Okay.
Shortest date.
Okay.
Most memorable date, sorry.
Okay.
And most recent date.
Okay, good.
The easiest
this is great.
Is the most recent date.
That's so true.
I feel like we should start with that.
Okay.
Just because,
Yeah.
It's easy.
I will say, if you are a friend of mine that is attending a certain event happening in February, you know who you are. Don't listen to the rest of this podcast.
Yeah. Take a break, or really fast forward through Sarah's parts.
Right, exactly. hit that +10 button so that, you know,
you're not spoiled.
Still regale you with my stories at another time. But anyways, would you like to start with your most recent date story?
I don't remember it right now, and you're gonna have to start, and I'm gonna have to look through my little photo album to remember what happened last time.
That's super funny. Okay, so my most recent date was to the Seattle Art Museum, and it was really interesting. The museum in general, I will say, because it was the last day that they had an exhibit from Hokusai, I think is how you say the name. I can't really remember.
It's the big wave, like the
Yes.
very memorable, like it's Japanese art style. It's used in everything.
It's actually woodblock printing.
So oh my gosh.
Kind of goes with your craft of the week.
Wow, that's so exciting. But it's gorgeous, and I'm really sad. The closing day was Sunday, which was the day that this date was on. Sorry.
I'm sorry. That's okay.
But Sarah saw it for the both of us.
I did get to see it. Yeah.
And
so
that's good.
That exhibit in general was really cool. And then also the one that I was most excited about, because I was like, I know the wave is there and that's super exciting, but I like pretty recently, after knowing that I was going to attend the Seattle Art Museum, learned that there was going to be a show space for, I can't remember his first name, but someone named Calder who does the mobiles. So like hanging and then also like balancing on stands, kind of wire, metal, balance looking art. I don't know. I remember doing a like little unit on him when I was in middle school, I think, because one of my art teachers like wrote some sort of undergrad paper on him or something, right?
They were like, this.
And they were like, you should care about this guy because he's super cool and we're going to make mobiles. And I remembered like mine was really ambitious and my art teacher was like, okay, like we'll see how it goes. And it didn't really hang right, but it was still really fun. So yeah, that like in general, the art museum was really neat. I will say that I did a little bad because I kept on telling Kiera and Bella that this date was happening at 2 p.m.
This was the same day that we went to Mercer Island.
Yes. So I was with them on Mercer Island eating lunch, and I forgot to plug my phone in the night before, and so I had it turned off, so I didn't get any messages. And I was just so confident that this date was supposed to happen at 2 p.m. that when we were driving, getting in the car at 1:30 to go to the art museum, I turned on my phone and I saw that the person I was meeting had messaged and said like, oh my gosh, I'm finding somewhere to park, like, and then a secondary message that was like, I'm inside waiting, just let me know when you're here. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting. Like 1:30 for a 2 o'clock date? Like, why is this person half an hour late?
And we were very confused as well. We're like, wow, I mean, they must have just been so eager.
Right. Like,
so great.
Yeah.
But, okay.
Like living far away and like taking time for traffic or something like that. And so I messaged back and I was like, oh, okay, like I'm 15 minutes out. Like I'll see you soon. And then we, started getting on the road and I scrolled back up in the messages and I was like, oh no.
Oh no.
I was supposed to be there at 1. Like this person has been waiting and will have waited 45 minutes for me to get to this museum. And thankfully, they were still there when I got there. And, I was like, oh my gosh, hi, I'm so incredibly sorry. We ended up going through the museum. Only a couple jokes were made about my tardiness, and I only felt really bad and apologized a couple times. But in general, very fun date and very nice person. And I think I made up the lateness by buying us food afterwards.
And just being a wonderful date.
Well, I'm pretty what am I trying to say? Good conversationalist.
And personable.
Right, thank you. I'm very personable. Not very eloquent, but quite personable.
It's endearing.
Yeah, thank you. I'll try.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was my most recent date.
Bella and I had dropped her off because we were like, oh my God, we got to step on it now. I was driving. And so we got there and we're like, call us or text us. Like, we'll wait for you just in case he did leave. Yeah. Like, we'll be here. But her phone was almost dead. And so it had been about 5 minutes and we're like, okay, we're going to go. Yeah. Willing to turn around if worse comes to worse. She never wrote back, so it was all okay. But we were nervous. We were nervous for you and happy that it all worked out.
Yeah, I'm also happy it worked out. I was kind of thinking about it, just in terms of like, my worst dates and stuff like that. And like if someone was later than 20 minutes, I would have been
I would
incredibly
have
upset and I probably would have
a
left.
30 would have definitely been my cutoff.
Yeah.
I think it's because you wrote back though.
Mm-hmm.
That they were like, okay, I guess they're on their way, and like I'm already here, so I might as well go.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that's called resiliency.
Honestly, I was very impressed.
Good
So
on them.
there you are.
Yeah.
And they would like to have an additional date with me, so
So it all works
it
out.
must be in the end. So that's pretty cool. But
Um,
yeah, so
nice,
most recent.
nice.
Did you find
My
your
most
most recent?
recent, yes. So I am currently dating a someone,
Cute.
and we have had a little bit of a rough time recently because they've been sick, very
Yeah.
sick with mono, which
Yeah.
is an unfortunate thing to be sick with.
Super contagious.
It's super contagious, and just like we haven't been able to go on like dates in a while. So there's like times when we've hung out and it's been at a house, but not really like it's not like you're going out and doing something, like not like a planned thing. It's like, oh yes, we shall make dinner and then
Spend
we
time.
will watch a movie, and which
Mhm.
is great and wonderful, but it's not like a date night.
Right.
And the last time that we went out together, albeit it was at first with some friends and then like kind of us, we went to one of those candlelight concerts.
Hmm.
So it's if you haven't heard of them, I think they're popping up now. They're kind of trendy. And they play like a string quartet with all of these candles around. And there's different themes. Like I think they have some pop nights, but they're all set to, string instruments. And then we went to a Studio Ghibli night.
Hmm.
So we got to see a lot of like the Miyazaki film scores, which I guess is not, Studio Ghibli isn't just Miyazaki. It was like Joe Hisashi. I think that's the composer that does a lot of the Studio Ghibli movies. Anyways, it was gorgeous. We went to get sushi beforehand, which I am not really a big fan of sushi.
Yeah.
Or at least I thought.
Oh.
But this is the first time that I've actively had sushi in a not landlocked state, and it was really good.
Dang. Okay.
'Cause
Okay.
I've had sushi before, and I'm like, yeah, it's like fine. Like I don't know if I'd spend extra money to eat this kind of meal,
Right.
but now I was like, wow, this sushi was
Oof.
delicious. But I was getting ready with a friend because we went to dinner together, and we were running really late. I was also actively editing a podcast and getting ready at the same time, and it had already been a very busy day. And so since I was doing all of these many things at one time, it was just a stressful time. We got to the dinner place. We're able to take like a couple of bites, and then we're like, can we get the rest of the sushi to go actually?
Oh my gosh.
Because the place that they were having it was the Museum of Flight here in Seattle. It does not let in late entry.
Oh.
So if you missed the time, I think we needed to be there at 8:30, and it was pushing like 7:45, and
Yeah.
it wasn't that close, plus traffic and parking and whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we're like, can we have some of this really nice sushi to go in a box, and we'll make our way. So we were eating in the car. I was feeding sushi
Oh.
in the passenger seat, and we got there on time. We went in. The Museum of Flight's gorgeous. We should definitely go.
Okay.
It looks so
Yeah.
fun.
I love that.
And it was also really pretty at night because everything was all lit up, and then there was candles everywhere, and then we got to listen to some very beautiful music.
That sounds great.
Felt very serene. So
Yeah.
that was my most recent date.
Sounds great. That was a little bit before the holidays too,
Yeah,
right?
it was in December, so it's been a hot minute. Hoping there's more
Blaming the
dates.
sickness.
It's definitely been the sickness, but
Yeah.
that's alrighty.
Super fun though.
So those are our most recent dates.
Lovely. Both very activity filled,
Yeah. I think that it's fun to have activity dates. I am a person who is not so much of a homebody, and so even if the activity is going out to eat, I'm like, yes,
This is
this is what I
good.
want.
Yes.
Or if
An
you're like
event.
doing something together,
Yeah.
yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
Okay, so that was most recent. I'm realizing that we might not have time to do this whole list. It's quite a long list for the amount of stories that we might have.
Okay. We
Um,
can either pick the ones that we would like to talk on the most, or we can be slightly more brief.
I am gonna let you pick the next category so we can pick our favorite categories, and then the ones that don't get picked or we don't have time for, we can just not even do.
Okay. I think that we should talk about the shortest date.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I can go first.
Okay.
Because I feel like it's not that exciting.
Yeah.
And you can also add to these categories. I made them really fast.
This was just the category that I knew how I was going to answer it. The other ones are slightly going to be something that I need to think on.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I didn't really think about them.
It'll be great.
Good for us.
Yep.
Good for us. We prepared a lot. um, but shortest date was like an hour,
Okay,
maybe
yeah.
less than that, maybe 45 minutes. Because I think it was during one of the brief stints of time where COVID wasn't as rampant,
Okay.
and it's still in that realm though. And I was like swiping, doing my thing. And I was like, oh, this person, cool. And they were like pretty forward. And they're like, yeah, let's go on a date. And I was like, yeah, okay, let's do it. What do you want to do? And then everything went downhill from there because it's like, what do you do? I don't know. Let's just meet on campus and then we'll walk around. Like, we can get coffee. So we ended up walking to Starbucks. And then we just walked around campus for like the whole time drinking our Starbucks. And only talking about how bad Greek life is.
Were you both in Greek life?
No, I was only in Greek life.
Oh.
So it felt like a little weird, and also like, yeah, to be fair, I like acknowledge that there's so many issues with Greek life, and I was probably complaining a good chunk about it while we were talking together.
Yeah.
But it was really hard because every time I'd try to bring up any other topic, it just wouldn't stick and it'd be like one word answers. So we kept circling back to the same thing. And by the time I realized we were stuck there, we had already walked far enough that like we had to walk back.
Dang. And you're like, I'm trapped in more of this conversation
Yeah,
now.
yeah. And it's just one of those things where it's just very quickly, you know, it's like it's not gonna work out,
Yeah,
and that's okay.
My favorite thing.
Yeah,
but
go. That's mine.
Okay.
What about you?
There you go. I am not entirely sure if this is the shortest in terms of like actual time, because I feel like I've done a couple different like let's grab a bite or like let's grab bubble tea dates that were probably pretty brief, but I still feel like, you know, felt like they were as long as they needed to be. This one just felt incredibly short. I think it was 2 years ago now, but I had already like known this person a while as like an acquaintance, like friend of a friend. We ran in the same circles kind of. And we went out and got some kind of food. I can't actually remember what it was. I feel like it was pizza, but I don't. Obviously, that's not the most important part of the story.
That's okay.
We got something to eat, and like the food came out relatively fast, and you know, we ate it relatively fast, and we talked a little bit about just like the recent things that had been happening in the group that like we were both involved in. And it was one of those things where sometimes you get to the end of a date and you're like, well, like, especially like when you're eating dinner at, or like dinner, like a meal, like in a place where you order, the food comes, you eat the food, and then you get the check. And then you're like, okay, so, should we go?
No,
You know,
no,
and
like,
it's one of those things where it's like you don't know if the other person has other stuff going on. Like it was definitely an earlier meal, so like there definitely might have been other plans for the rest of the day on like either side of our like dealio dyad. And so it was just one of those things where I was like, so, like, should we go? Like, kind of trying to leave it open where it's like, go somewhere else? Should we go, like, from each
Yeah.
other's presence.
Go is a very open, broad term.
Right, exactly. And they had driven us to like the place where we were eating and stuff, and so they just drove me home and I got out and I was like, guess I'm at my house. And I came in to my roommates and they were like, because they also knew this person. And I was like, hi, I'm back already. And they were like, that wasn't even like a whole hour. And I was like,
Yeah,
yeah,
we're done.
I don't, huh. Okay. And and so they were like, "Well, do you have anything that you need to do for the rest of the day?" And I was like, "No." And I was like, "Well, do they have anything that they need to do for the rest of the day?" And I was like, "I don't think so, but
It's over.
I'm here." And so they're like, "Just text them. Like just like see if they want to keep hanging out." And I was like, okay. And so I did. And then, yeah, they just like ended up turning around in a neighboring neighborhood, came back, and then we got dessert.
Okay, I
So
guess.
it was just funny because it was like one of those things where it was like, is this our second date now? And like we laughed about it a little bit, but it was one of those things where it was like the date itself might have not been the shortest that I had been on, but I was like surprised that I was at my house at the end of it kind of thing, you know. And then I ended up reaching back out. So we spent more time together, but it was one of those things where it's just kind of like, this feels silly.
Why
Why
is this
didn't
happening?
we use our words? Because, you're nervous and awkward, so there you are. Okay, I know that we already had our categories set, but I did think of a story that could be kind of funny, and I think you might have one too, where it's like the most embarrassing date that we've been on.
Yeah, but it's like of me being embarrassing, not
Okay.
the other person. So I can tell. I'd be willing to tell it,
Okay.
but like
Do you
know
like
that
you
I
go
am.
first?
I can go first.
Okay.
Know that I'm actively embarrassed about it, and like it still haunts me to this day.
Okay. Okay.
Um, but it was also in college, and I was really excited to go to this event. Sororities hold them. They're like date dashes slash formals.
Okay.
Um, sororities can't throw parties, only fraternities can throw parties.
Hmm.
So whenever you see like crazy ragers, it's never thrown by a sorority. It is always thrown by a fraternity, at least at the school that I was going to. But instead, sororities throw date dashes slash formals, which are basically these big parties, but like at an event center or like
Oh, okay.
a place. It's like a bar slash restaurant, but they just rented the place out. Sometimes they're at like a designated event hotel space. I don't
A
know.
venue.
Venue, thank you. That is
Yeah.
the word that I'm trying to look for. And it's always a surprise. So you know what the theme is. Like you get to know what the theme is a week before. That's why it's usually like a date dash because you're dashing to find a date, dashing to find an outfit for the theme. Um,
A week is not a lot of time to
it's
find an outfit.
not a lot of time or a date.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Um, and then you are all bussed there, so it's very safe. No one has to drive.
Nice.
And then you're all bussed back, but it's pretty like formulaic in how it works out time wise. And so this was the first time that I had ever gone to one. It was freshman year, and I was working at Panera,
Nice.
and they were making me work. I asked for 10 hours a week, and they were easily doubling that, which was like too much for me first year and also doing so many other things. And they had booked me or scheduled me for an 8-hour shift that
Oh
day.
my
And
gosh.
they didn't give free shift meals. You got like a discounted one, but it wasn't free. And
That's
I still like
ridiculous.
I hadn't eaten. We were so busy, and I don't think I was closing, but it was just like a really stressful day. That's all I remember. I got home and I ate like a couple bites of bread. And I was like, okay, gotta get ready. I have to go now. I had asked this guy out who lived next door, and I was really excited. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's so cute. This is so nice. I feel like we've had a little bit of fun banter. Like, this is gonna be great. And
Yeah.
like, it's a college party. Woo.
Living our movie college experience life.
But it wasn't. Anyways, so I get ready. Um, he comes over. We go to my friend's house to pregame.
Mhm.
And mind you, I have eaten no food.
Oh no.
So I've eaten like a couple bites of bread, and when I get there, there's just like alcohol, right?
Yeah.
Like there's alcohol everywhere. I think we brought our own booze and stuff. Like I don't know as well, but you kind of mix and match, and that was the first time that I had like, vodka and tequila and champagne and fireball and like just all of these things that were mixed together. Now I'm older and wiser. Stick with the same type of alcohol. That
Very
will
nice.
that will reduce your hangover.
Good stuff.
Don't mix, don't mix.
Good idea.
And I absolutely had a lot of alcohol. Plus I was a little nervous, plus I hadn't eaten anything.
Right.
So it was a lot of things at once.
Recipe for
Yeah.
disaster.
The pregame was,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. Took cute pictures, had lots of fun, talked a little, and then we were like, okay, let's go to the the sorority where the bus is at. And then we get there, and then I'm like really starting to feel it, and I'm like, cool, great, 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 great. Here we are. And when you're not sober, you kind of go out of your way to do stuff. And so you have to get in line to go in. And I had it in my mind that I was like, "Ugh, why are we waiting? Like everyone always cuts. And they do. Everyone always cuts in line and just like goes. But I was really feeling strongly
Gung
about it.
ho.
And so I pushed us to the front of the line. And then unfortunately, when I got there, I may have tripped on the table.
Oh no.
And
Oh.
so I didn't like fall, but like I made like I had to catch myself on the table
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
And if they think you're too drunk, they won't let you in.
Oh no. Were you not let in?
So they wouldn't let me in
Oh
because they thought I
no.
was too drunk. Granted, I probably was,
Oh.
but like it was just really embarrassing because I was like, oh shoot,
Yeah.
like what
And
do
you
I do now?
invited someone to
And I
go to this
invited
thing.
someone.
Right.
Now that I think of it, it was probably the second time because I had already gone once
Okay.
and just without like a date.
Mm.
Because I already knew how everything worked. So it was like the second round of this. And so I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do? So I'm like, okay, we can stand patiently in line. Maybe they'll forget and just let us in. They didn't.
Oh
And so
no.
we didn't get to go in. It was really sad. We went back to my place and then I was just like, well, thanks. Like we had already
Yeah.
spent some hours together, like at the pre thing, but then just like went home and like I was very not sober. I don't know how he was, but basically at that point, like everything had really hit. Long story short, really big hangover, felt
Yeah.
very sick. Next day didn't feel good, and then felt super embarrassed like the next day because we were in the same dorm, and it was just
The
like,
anxiety. Have you ever heard that before?
no, but that's basically what happened. And I
Yeah.
was just very, very sad about
Oh.
it.
Did
And
you
that
end
was
up
it.
doing anything with this person later on?
No, not when I can't even remember. We still saw each other and were friendly and like did like communal things together and
Mm.
like lived very close.
Yeah.
He came over to our like dorm and like hung out a couple times,
Gotcha.
but yeah, it was really embarrassing and it was really sad and I'm still sad about it, as you
Oh.
can tell, but that's my begrudgingly most embarrassing date. Yeah, so after that whole thing, though, we did talk and did text now that I'm thinking about it. And in person, I apologized to him. I like knocked on his door and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And he was very nice. He was like, no, it's totally fine. Like, I still had a lot of fun. You should definitely let me know if your like sorority does another thing. Like, I would still love to come, which was really nice because I was absolutely mortified.
Mm.
And he still came to hang out in our communal friend group and came to the dorm. We live very close to one another, so that was nice, but it was just an unfortunate end to that date.
Yeah.
um
Well, and like him as the date,
yeah,
like the person was actually really like nice and gracious.
yeah,
So that's good.
yeah, he
You
was a
know?
good person. It just was like hard because it was one of those times where it was like I felt like in a lot of my relationship things, I feel like sometimes I do the asking.
Mm.
But it was the first time that I did the asking where I was like, I feel like you're kind of like really out of my league.
Oh.
And not really out of my league, but like
Yeah.
out of my league. And
But it
so
was like kind of nerve-wracking to begin with a little
it was
bit.
just a lot of
Yeah,
like boom,
for
boom,
sure. I
boom,
don't know.
bad, a little more. Oh my
No.
God.
Okay, this is fine.
Yeah, no,
That's
it
so
all
funny.
ended up fine, and now I am not single, so I don't have to worry about
Hey, it's
first
all good.
dates right now.
It's all good. Okay.
A couple years later, I was part of this tour guide group, and one of the people that I was talking with, we were getting to know each other, and we were asking like where they lived first year. She was a year older than me, and I was like, "Oh, here's where I lived. Oh, I have a friend that lived in that dorm. Like where?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, this here, here, here. Oh wow, same floor too. Like wow, crazy." And I was like, "Oh yeah, well, do you know this person named this?"
Oh my
And I was like,
gosh.
"Oh yeah, like haha, actually, like
Oh,
we went out like to something before, and like we were friends, so I gave her like a little bit more information, and she's like, "Oh my gosh," like she had
had
heard
she
of
already heard
it.
the story? Oh
I don't know
no.
if she had heard the story, but she definitely heard something.
Yeah.
And I was just like still mortified, and I was like,
Oh,
I just want to leave.
poor
I hate
Kira.
this so much. And it was those things where like we're more than just like acquaintances, but we're not like close friends now, and I'm like,
You're like,
dang.
this conversation definitely could have been avoided. Like it was never going to come up, but then it did,
Yeah, and
kind of
it just was
thing.
like too many words have tumbled out of my mouth to not keep going.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Anyways,
That's
let's
super
move
funny.
on. I'm
Yeah,
over
no,
it.
we can talk about me being embarrassed now. That's totally fine.
Please.
Okay. I guess my story is not as long or perhaps as embarrassing as yours was, to be
Yay,
fair.
glad,
Sorry.
woo.
But anyways, so I didn't start dating until college. I don't know, like we said, we went to a smaller high school and stuff like that. And so kind of like the first like serious relationship I was in was when I was a residence assistant. And because we were both RAs, like we lived in the same building and stuff. And so like
Bad.
there wasn't yeah, right? Okay. So there wasn't like a lot of like a need for us to go out for dates and stuff. And also
Mm-hmm.
like this was I'm pretty sure this was like 2021. So COVID was definitely like early 2021.
Mm.
So COVID was definitely still a thing, like, um and this person like really was pretty diligent in like being clean and being safe and like not wanting to go out into public spaces unless it was like more necessary and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was like not until pretty far into us like dating and stuff that we went on like an actual dinner date where I like got all fancy and like
Yeah.
wore a cute dress and everything, and we like took pictures and stuff, and I don't really like sushi either, hence I don't know, Kira being like, yeah, I don't know. I agree a lot with what Kira was saying about not liking sushi and being the reason being that we live in a landlocked state, probably.
Probably.
Anyways, this person really likes sushi, so we went and got sushi, but I was like, I don't want to eat sushi, so I ate teriyaki chicken, and I'm pretty good with chopsticks. Like, I'm not the best, but I'm pretty good. But, this was like kind of slippery chicken, and there's like a bunch of sauce, and like, I don't know, something happened, and I like dropped the chicken, and like, so much sauce, like maybe 2 tablespoons worth of sauce, like
Mm.
splashed all over my dress. And I was so
Oh
embarrassed because I
no.
was just like, this is the first time that I'm being like a real, like, pretty human on a date.
And it's
Like,
not.
and then I just am like a child that needs a bib, you know? And yeah, they were like really nice to me and it's funny, it's fine, like I can't even tell. And I was like, you can definitely tell and stuff. But yeah, so definitely kind of avoid the chopsticking foods when it comes to dates and stuff now, just because, You already have enough nerves going through you. You don't need to add like skill.
It's a dangerous game. Well, I think if we're doing a little guide to dating,
Oh,
I feel
okay.
like guide to dating, throwing it
Yeah.
in here. The first date is like the get to know you date, right?
Mm.
I feel like it's the date to know if you want to actually know them
Yeah.
or like try to know them further.
Tester.
Yeah, it's tester. That's your like drinks. That's your coffee. That's maybe if you're feeling frisky, you're doing dinner.
Okay.
And then every once in a while, not every once in a while, but sometimes it's an activity.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's not usually like a really active activity for your first date because
Right.
you don't want your main thing to be like, we're doing this thing. You want your main thing to be like, we're getting to know each other.
Right,
And this
yeah.
thing is also
You
happening.
wouldn't go do like paintball with someone as a first date.
Yeah, because then you're not talking.
Yeah.
But like some people probably do. This is just what I prefer. And then
Sure.
the second date is something that is a little bit more active or a little bit more like maybe it's a little bit more talky, but like you have enough freedom to be like, okay, I like you, we're interested in each other, let's do something. And then the fourth day is or fourth date. Whoa, skip number 3.
Don't
No
do a
third
third date.
And then the third date is something I feel like it's something that's more like coupley.
Okay.
Like something a little
What would you
bit
say
more
is more coupley?
romantic.
Oh, okay, like romantic.
Oh, yeah, romantic. Where it's not just like we're doing these things together. It's like we're doing them because we really want to do them together and trying something new. I don't know. I don't know.
I think
Maybe
that's
not.
a pretty good list. I like it. I don't do a lot of romantic dates, but I also haven't dated a lot of people up into or like past third dates. So
That's fair.
that's
Me
probably why.
either. I thought about doing a dating wrapped, but then I was like, nah,
Oh,
we shouldn't do that. We haven't done
no.
quite enough.
That's funny. So I have a story that I would like to share, but I also just remembered that in our like little recap thing, I was going to tell a little story from my friend, which has to do with the theme of dating and things like that. So
Okay,
this friend,
small aside.
small aside, this friend is traveling across the country to move for school again, and they really like going to Capitol buildings. And yeah,
Cool.
so there's, I know you didn't see
Very
that
not
coming.
specific, but yes.
Yeah,
Cool.
Capitol buildings. And so, cross country road trip and all that, you're going to a bunch of different states. And they recently got a booklet that you can get. It's kind of like a passport where there's like a special stamp that each Capitol building has. So when you go on a tour, you can get a stamp. And so they got this booklet, and they're the kind of person where it's like, now that I have this booklet, I have to do this.
Mhm.
And so they crossed through, I think, 6 different states on their drive. And so they went to, yeah, the 6 different Capitol buildings. And one of the Capitol buildings, I'm not sure which one, but a central, like, crop growing state.
On your way to the East Coast.
Central center of the country type stuff had said we do tours on the hour, but we won't do tours for a single person.
Whoa. Oh my God.
So
Wait,
it's like if there's
this
only
is
one
so great.
person there, they're not going to do the tour, right? And so my friend was like, I really want to get this stamp. You can only get the stamp if you get the tour because that's like the bulk of the history information, stuff
Yeah.
like that. And
And that's the whole
so
point of it.
they were like, I have the power of the internet to find me a companion to go on this tour. Yeah, and so they like went on, put it as like a thing on their profile and stuff, and was just kind of like looking, trying to see if anyone was willing to go, and ended up finding someone who was like, yeah, sure, like I'll go on a tour with you. And it was one of those things where it was like they woke up that morning, like, and they needed to do the tour by that like afternoon.
So it was a quick turnaround.
Right, because it's
Yeah.
a road trip, like you're not gonna stay in one spot for a really long
Yeah.
time, or else the trip itself would have been ages long. And so, yeah, they found someone who was available that same day and, showed up and they were getting ready to go on the tour and stuff. And then, like, a huge family also joins the tour, right? So, like, kind of unnecessary that, like,
Somebody, yeah, had
that they, like, went and found, like, even if they were going on it as, like, a single person, it would have been fine because, like, that family was there. But yeah, definitely still had like a great time and told me all about it, and it was just one of those cute little things where, the family was like, "So how do you two know each other?" And it's like, "Oh, like I found them on the internet this morning." And it was really cute to kind of hear about, and I think they, exchanged social media, but are still gonna be like a state or two apart.
Yeah, so
So not gonna turn into anything probably.
maybe the
I mean,
world.
who knows?
I don't know.
The world is fun. But yeah, I just thought I would share that because it's like a really cute, like dating just to like be on a date kind of
Yeah.
story.
And also, like,
Yeah.
I feel like the simplicity of dating is something that I've never really gotten around to. I feel like dating
Mm.
has always been very hard for me and very nerve wracking or like a lot of pressure. But
Yeah.
sometimes dating can just be fun. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just going out on dates and trying new things. That was this summer. And when I was trying to like go on dates, I was like, why is dating just like not working for me or like not that fun? I find it stressful all the time. I
Yeah.
find that when I'm on dates, I actively I'm like, I could be doing something that's slightly more fun right
Yeah.
now. And I was like, you know what? It's kind of a mindset thing. It's because I'm putting too much pressure on it. I
There you
used to
go.
be more low key. And so once I started doing that, I was like, wait, now I'm having fun on dates. This is what
Nice.
I needed.
Nice.
This is what I needed.
Yeah. I think I could definitely take more of a page out of that book, but I'm getting
It's
better.
hard. I
Yeah.
feel like it's a slow and steady process. It wasn't just like one day I woke up and felt that way. It
Mm.
was like, let's be introspective for a minute.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Our common denominator in me not having fun dates right now. To be fair, there's also like some compatibility things, and
Mhm.
sometimes your date just isn't that interesting, and sometimes your date's just bad.
Sometimes, and I'm going to share a story that's kind of like that. So
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
that's my segue. I will say some of the best dating advice I ever got was from a previous guest. Shout out, Cade. And he said once to me, it's like, Sarah, you can't just want a boyfriend. You
Mm.
can't just want like a serious relationship and get on the apps or start looking in daily life for like an immediate serious relationship. You have to want to date because you need that kind of like energy and that kind of like mindset
Mm-hmm.
to like make it
Be
through, the
open and
being
ready
with
and yeah.
people and then having to do the scheduling and picking out what you're going to do and making it through those conversations. You have to want to do those things. And then, like you can also definitely still want to have that serious relationship. But if you just want the serious relationship, all of the
It's gonna be so hard to get there
right
because you have to
beginning
do the
stuff
legwork. Yeah.
is going to
No.
be like not as fun, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I really liked that advice, and I share it with some people sometimes where it's like you can't just want the end. Have to want to do the beginning because then, that's that you have
Then
to
all good
start.
things
That's
will
where you
happen.
have to start. So anyway,
Yeah.
back to my final story of the
Well,
pod.
okay. So what we were thinking is that we were feeling a little bit constrained by all of our categories, mostly because it's hard to find like an extreme of something.
Mm-hmm.
And some of our notable dates don't necessarily fall within like a best, worst,
Mm-hmm.
longest, shortest, blah 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 category. So we thought for our last story, we would just tell something that had like a story to
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
So without further ado,
Right. Well, and also, we don't really want to be mean.
yeah.
And sometimes, like, a worst date story could be, like, a little mean?
Yeah. Like the embarrassing story was only mean to me, really. So
Mm-hmm.
it was okay.
Right. Yeah. We get to enjoy it because you're willing.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
like for
Yeah.
other ones, it's like if it's a worst date, like not that anyone would ever hear the podcast. And there's also like personal dates that I feel like you're like,
Yeah.
I'll share
Like,
this,
that's for me,
really.
myself, and I.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So there are other dates, of course, that we've had that we're omitting. But we're trying to find the ones that may be the most entertaining. Or
Yes.
we haven't like heard the full stories of.
Right.
We've heard like cliff notes from each other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of ones that I don't think you know the whole story behind, this was kind of in my like, I was trying the dating apps for the first time and going on dates with people that I didn't necessarily have a lot in common with, but I thought like there was enough there to, just try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The little college travel.
Exactly. Just like go out and do a thing. I usually try and put off the idea of what the date is going to be on the other person.
Mm.
And maybe this is why. But I don't know. I just like, I have found that I like most things, and some other people just don't really enjoy the things that I think are fun as much, I don't know. I think I was
Hard.
just being a little too creative. But anyways, we all know who Bob Ross is, right?
Yes, of course we do.
The happy little trees, the fluffy little clouds. I had it like as an idea in my mind that it would be really fun to find an old recording of a Bob Ross episode, and we would sit and we'd like follow it along and paint together.
Mm-hmm.
This person had given me like a slight indication that they would enjoy this, like adjacent to being artistic. Maybe I was kind of making that adjacent a little closer than it actually was, but still, I was like, this will be fun, right? Even if it blows up in our faces, we can laugh about it. And we didn't really laugh. So I just to further complicate things for myself and this story, I guess, I decided that why would we paint on canvas when I would have to go out and buy those items and spend money on it?
Silly.
Right. Should never do that. I instead thought it would be really fun to paint this antique window that we had gotten replaced in our house, which I will say later on in like life and living and things, I did actually paint two of the other windows that we
had. And they looked way better.
And they looked really cute. One of them I made as kind of like a little birthday sign that was just like with white lettering, white paint, and then the other one I made into like a cute picture of me and my friends. Maybe I'll post it on the Instagram if you guys want to see it. I can do artistic things sometimes. You wouldn't have known from this date, but I can. So yeah, so we have this big window like set out in front of us. I have some paints for us. We put on the Bob Ross, and like our trees looked so bad, you guys.
They were not pretty.
It was so
no pretty
bad.
little trees, no fluffy little clouds.
Oh my gosh. And it was one of those things where like it wasn't even laughable, it was just sad. Where it's like, this is not working.
It's not cute.
It was my idea. Like, it's not funny. It's just like kind of a failure. And like, we're trying to like somehow salvage this by like cracking a joke or two, but we're both like very obviously like.
It's not like endearing. It really is just bad.
Yeah, it was just like simply not the best. But I didn't have anything else for us to paint because I was like, not that prepared. Who thinks far ahead in these days?
Yeah, it's a third date too. It's like,
right. Yeah, exactly. And so yeah,
trying to do something romantic ish.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to do something that's like kind of cute a little bit and stuff. But yeah, so that like already was just kind of a failure. And then like he ended up leaving really fast at the end because like I don't know, for one reason or another, like he just wanted to get out of there, and I just remember having that feeling of like, oh,
you want to leave because you actively want to leave, not because the date has come to a natural close.
Like I had tried so hard to like do this thing, it was like my idea and all that stuff, and I was like, this didn't work, and it was just one of those things. But I think now I try and do stuff that is maybe a little less like high pressure in terms of creativity and working together and painting on glass. I don't often offer that anymore. It's not on the menu. Actually, I don't even choose for the menu. I just show a menu to the people that I'm going on dates with and make them choose because it's easier that way. Then if it blows up in their face, it's their fault instead of mine. Haha. So anyway, dating's fun though, right?
I love dating.
No.
On that note,
it's one of those things where like I'm glad that I tried to do these date things because now I know that it's not a great idea for the future.
It's a learning experience.
You
really.
grow as you go.
Well, I have one more story that is also like we're not sharing that many like happy dating stories. We do have some. We do have good dates. I feel like that could be a follow-up episode, like happy dates instead of like
yeah.
We could do that. We maybe for Valentine's Day or something.
That could be fun.
We love love. But sometimes we just go on bad dates. Anyways, this is not like a horrible date. It's just kind of like a bad timing date. And I really, it's a pattern. Whenever I'm about to move states, someone asks me out. When I was about to leave Colorado, I got asked out in like the last week before high school ended.
Yeah.
And then when I was leaving Arizona, I got asked out 2 days before I was leaving for like Seattle. So it was kind of crazy because I was between houses. Because how the leases work is they end in like August and then like quarter system, we didn't start till September and it was like a whole thing. And so we went out for celebratory drinks with like my group and it was really nice to be with all of my people that I had been with for the past year because I had started, new classes but had been with majority of the same people. And this one person, like at the end of the night was like, "Oh, can I like walk you out?" And he was like, "Oh, like I mean, like I've had such a good time getting to know you this year, and like, is there any chance that I can see you before you leave?" And like it was one of those things where you want to be like, "Yes, like oh, this is so sweet," and like maybe like I don't know, something can happen. And so we had planned something. I'm like, I really don't have that much time. Like I kind of need to go. And like tomorrow I can work in like an hour or two here. And so we planned for that time, but I was working. And I also had like some of my stuff in the office because I was actively moving between places. Like I was staying at a friend's house, but I had all of my plants here. And so I tried to meet up with him that day, and he was hungover from the night before when we had all gone out for drinks. And he was texting me. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't make it. I'm so 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 sorry. Can we do tomorrow?" I was like, "I can do tomorrow for like an hour. Like it's gotta be quick, and like I'm gonna have stuff, but like yeah, I still want to see you." And it was just like sad and sweet, and it was really nice to see him and be like, "Aw." It's like kind of a date, but we're like saying goodbye really and whatever.
Very
But
like complimented.
I also had like a million plants with me.
For the hour.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
It was so silly. And I got lost
She was
too.
like, "This is me."
It was on the same street that I was working on, and there was two places under the same name. And I could not find the place that we were supposed to meet. It was at this ice cream shop.
Oh,
and I was like walking back and forth and calling, and I already had limited time and already had these plans. And then it was just rough. It was rough. But it was still like good in the fact that it was like, oh, we're doing the thing.
Yeah, that's nice. I think that's very nice.
And I was happy that we got to have our time together. And we kept in touch a little bit, but
love it.
The ship sailed. So moral of the story, dates are really hard. Sometimes they don't work out. Sometimes they're really funny. Sometimes they do work out and then you're happy.
Yeah.
But we are definitely going to have to wrap up this podcast. Who knows? Our camera might die. Regardless, we're going to wrap it up and we are going to talk through the end of this podcast because we've already had to charge the camera battery and we don't want to do it again.
So let us know what your favorite date story was or a date story of your own in the comments.
Please do. Relieve some of our embarrassment.
We post episodes every Wednesday to YouTube and Spotify. Please like our Instagram. We might make some more posts. We might not. Who knows?
We're going to try.
Surprising in that way. We just keep you all on your toes.
Like the YouTubies, rate us 5 stars on Spotify, all of the things to show our little podcast a little love in the spirit of dating.
And maybe share us with someone that you go on a date with, or share us with an ex.
Yeah, definitely.
Could be really fun. Anyways,
we really enjoyed spending some time with you, and we hope that you enjoyed it as well. And we will see you next time on
Arguably Speaking.
Bye!